Marvel, what the actual flying witches? And I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. About what? What up, witches? Here is my recap of Episode 5, Agatha All Along, Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power. Huge spoiler warning, so go over there, save the video, and come back to see what I was right about. This is your warning. We start out this episode on the Witch's Road, where we see the animals again. We know what that means. It's everybody's favorite girl band, the Salem 7. So the animals start to transform, and it's cricky, and it's creepy, and it's icky. And then all of a sudden, we see them crawl to this one, which seems to be the leader. She picks up a black obsidian, which represents the revealing of one's true psyche. Important? I think so. Lilia jumps up. We realize it's her dream. Rio goes on to say, "Go on, Lilia, tell them." Like she knows what was in her dream. Lilia said that Agatha, her original coven, and Jen turns around and adds, by stealing their powers. And Rio's quick to defend Agatha. She said because her own mother tried to have her executed. Lilia says that she might have the witches, but she spared their children, and that's who the Salem 7 are. All of a sudden, the Salem 7 appears, and they go to attack Teen, out of all people, not Agatha. So who jumps in to protect Teen but our protection witch, Alice, and she knocks him over with her broom. Now, as they get ready to fly, Agatha says, "We can all fly together, or we don't fly at all." When did she become a team player, huh? We get this absolutely gorgeous picture of the coven flying across the blood moon. That's important, and it's also important to note that this is very reminiscent of E.T., which is an 80s movie. Both of those things come into play later. Now, we all remember the words, straighten out from the path. Yeah, they strayed from the path, even though they were up in the air. So the path decides to get them back and pulls them down, and they come careening to the earth. And as they do so, Rio tosses her head back and cackles, like a real witch. Well, we get to the cabin. Remember when I told you that the E.T. reference was a nod to the 80s? Well, we're back in the 80s. Not only is the cabin a nod to Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, but the TV is also a nod to the movie Poltergeist. We learn this is Agatha's trial when Lilia says that it's because of the blood moon, because the blood moon is when the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest. And I have said before that Agatha is a spirit witch, and spirit is the in-between between the living and the dead. Well, a Ouija board pops out of nowhere, and their little plastic watches start beeping. Teen reads the rules of the Ouija board, the most important one being the last one, that you cannot take your hands off the planchette, or that little thing that moves, of the Ouija board, or a spirit will be released. Round one of the Ouija board, they're all going around. It spells out Mrs. Hart's there, and then Agatha pretends to get possessed and does the worst possible Mrs. Hart impression in the world. Rio's trying to stifle a laugh, and the rest of the witches finally catch on that she's pretending, and Rio says it's only because she's scared. Round two in fight, we're back on the Ouija board, and this time it starts moving around on its own, and they ask who's there with them, and the Ouija board spells out death. And we get this. That's right, Rio throws her head back and laughs. They ask the Ouija board what do they want, and it says to punish Agatha. So it starts moving really, really quick and out of control, and Agatha's freaking out, asking it to stop. It doesn't. So what does she do? She picks her hands off the Ouija board. Big mistake. Huge mistake. High-pitched noise starts. Everybody's covering their ears except Rio. Lily says, "I hated this the first time." What does that even mean? And all of a sudden, Jennifer realizes that they have to punish Agatha. So she takes out her retainer, puts it in the container, pretty much raises her sleeves, and gets ready to give Agatha the beatdown. They all start joining in one by one of ways they could humiliate her or tie her up, and it felt like her original coven ganging up on her yet again. Teen tries to stop this behavior and says, "But we had unity." And Jen turns to him and says, "Familiars don't get a vote." And if you take a look at that face, he's none too happy with her. Agatha disappears, lights go out, they all run to grab lanterns, and they're lighting them, and Teen feels something drip on him. and he looks up and he sees this image of Agatha, which is a nod to The Exorcist. As she drops down, Jen says she's faking it, but Rio, knowing she's not, says, "Sweetheart, are you okay?" She starts acting all exorcisty, and she tries to go after Teen. Again, why Teen? Anyway, Jen distracts her, and she goes and she grabs Jen by the neck and starts lifting her up, and she starts choking her. Lilia finds the power box, and Agatha has disappeared, nowhere to be seen. The others run to help Jen, but Rio starts calling her name. And she asks very angrily, "Where is she?" So obviously she's not talking to Agatha. A white ethereal mist appears floating down the stairs. They're wondering what it is. Rio says, "It's a ghost. I hate ghosts." All of a sudden, the ethereal ball orb of white light spirit turns into this woman. Lily asks her who she is, and she says she is Evanora Harkness of the Salemites, who I will now refer to as Mommy Dearest, because, yes, we have the ghost of Agatha's mother. Agatha's okay. She comes out of the loft, and she says that she never felt so close to her mother. Her mother then goes on to say that her coven risked everything to destroy Agatha, and she called this coven fools for following her. Jen wants to know if they could banish her. Lilia says that it's emotion tying her to the plane, and that she has unfinished business, and that's the only thing that's going to get rid of her. She tells Wishes to go on without Agatha and leave her with her mother. Rio yells, "No, no way." And then when Jen said, "But you wanted to," and she said, "No, her mother can't have her." When Agatha asks her mother, why does she hate her still, her mother tells her something that would have destroyed even the strongest of witches. She tells her that she was born evil and that she should have ended her as soon as she came out of her womb. Jen said, "Let's go. Agatha is only dangerous to Agatha. We have no ties to this place. Let's just keep going." And we get this. Agatha pleads and begs for them not to leave her. Teen refuses to leave her. Agatha's begging and pleading and saying, "I could be good. I promise." And she gets possessed again. Alice screams, "Leave her alone," and uses her powers to blast Mommy Dearest out of Agatha. The demon is expelled, but Agatha can't help but take Alice's powers, almost as if she doesn't have a choice. And that orange light starts to turn purple. Teen sees the Ouija board moving, runs to it, sees it moving on its own, and says, "Who is this?" And it spells out Nicholas Scratch. He calls out the name, and Agatha instantly snaps out of it. We hear a child's voice say, "Mama, stop." And Teen moves the planchette to goodbye. The door pops open, but it's too late. Teen runs to Alice, but it's way too late. And he yells at Agatha when she tries to approach him and says, "She was protecting you. You didn't deserve it." Agatha leaves, looking embarrassed and confused. We see Agatha outside, and she conjures up Alice's magic, but it's only a little bit, and all of a sudden it just turns to smoke. Teen comes out absolutely furious and confronts Agatha, and when she tells him she really couldn't control it, he doesn't believe her, and it totally destroys her. He asks if killing people for their own agenda is what being a witch is, and that it's not for him. Agatha's complete demeanor and personality changes in a heartbeat. She goes up to him and she leans in close and she goes, "Are you sure?" And then she looks at him and goes, "You're so much like your mother." She walks away, the absolute coldest I've seen her in this show to date, and she says, "Come on, pet." He's absolutely irate, and blue magic comes from his hand. We see Lily and Jen, with blue eyes now, come up to Agatha and grab her, and she suddenly snaps back to being her and starts calling him Teen and begging him to stop. With a flick of his wrist, they throw her in the quicksand mud that almost took Mrs. Hart out. He then flicks his wrist again, and the two of them also get trapped in the same quicksand mud. This is the very last image we see. Wiccan, anyone? Here are the questions episode 5 left me with. Why did the Salem 7 go after Teen and not Agatha? How did Rio know what was in Lilia's dream? Why did Teen throw them all in, and where did they go? What was Jen's problem? Where is Rio? And lastly, what happens now that Teen is Wiccan? I was right about Alice dying, but what did you think of tonight's episode? Like, comment, and follow me for more Agatha Alone content. Later, witches.